As Hurricane Katrina roared ashore this morning, winds battered the Superdome in New Orleans. The roof was damaged, but thousands are taking shelter there, and they are safe and dry.
Flooding and storm surge from Katrina have overtaken Interstate 10. Thanks for keeping it tuned right here to the Weather Channel as we continue to track Katrina. I'm Jennifer Lopez.
And I'm Carl Parker. Even as Katrina moves inland, it's still packing hurricane-force winds. Flooding will also be a huge problem, and countless tornado warnings have been issued today. And
we're going to talk with our severe weather expert coming up all about that.
Hurricane Katrina made landfall at 6:10 Central Time in southeast Louisiana and southern Plaquemines Parish. It was then a Category 4 with winds of 140 miles per hour. But as you know, the impacts of a hurricane are felt well before the landfall and well after.
Now here are some damage reports from the New Orleans area. The Superdome is leaking. There is a hole in the roof. Also, we have reports along the west bank of the river, across from the river in New Orleans. The roof was ripped off City Hall. And Jefferson Parish, a report of an apartment building collapse in Tarrytown, and at Charity Hospital in New Orleans reports that windows have been blown out on 5 floors. We have a team of meteorologists all the way from Louisiana over to the Florida Panhandle to cover Katrina. We'll be checking in with Mike Seidel. He's in Mobile, Alabama, and Jeff Morrow is in Covington, Louisiana. We start here with Jeff.
And Jeff, you've certainly been battered about by Katrina. How are things right now as compared to what you saw this morning?
Oh, it's just kind of a world of difference. Obviously, we're looking at a lot of clouds still moving by here pretty quickly and a little bit of light rain, but I got to tell you, there's really no wind to speak of right now. We're a little bit sheltered where we are, but even so, I mean, some of the winds this morning were pretty intense. They were gusting, I would estimate, and again, I didn't have an anemometer with me, but probably about 80, at tops 85 miles an hour. So it was hurricane force, and that was enough to snap a lot of trees. In fact, we went out here not just a couple of hours ago to shoot some video for you and show you some of the damage around the area. Also, some of the problems were the flooding here on the North Shore, believe it or not. Now, this all kind of moved around on Lake Pontchartrain depending on the wind direction. When the hurricane first came in, the winds were out of the north and were blowing the lake into the South Shore. And then as the hurricane went by, for a short time, we had strong winds blowing the lake back up here toward the North Shore. And again, there was moderate flooding here, at least 3, 4, maybe 5 feet deep in some areas. Also, some structural damage. There's a theater down the road here that has some pretty bad structural damage. A lot of the stucco on the side of the building all came apart. And that's probably about the worst we have seen, aside from a heck of a lot of tree damage. Going to give you some more information here, particularly down toward the New Orleans area. 40,000 people flooded in St. Bernard Parish, 40,000. And one-story homes on the south shore of Lake Pontchartrain there, when the lake came in, flooded to the rooftops there. So the levees were breached in many areas, at least topped over as the lake came over. And I-10 ramps look more like boat ramps. Yeah, it was a mess, and it's going to continue to be a mess. And any water that's down there in New Orleans is going to take some time to pump out. They're going to need power for one thing, and that's one thing we don't have here right now. No power, no cell service. It's interesting how we're actually talking to you, but we're able to get you the information, and we'll try to stay up as long as we can. Carl and Christina?
All right, Jeff, thank you.
I'm sorry, not Christina, Jennifer.
It's all right.
Just an amazing number there. 40,000 homes underwater.
And
unbelievable.
Just one parish, one county, so that's just incredible numbers. Well, along the Alabama coast, you've also been hit with some huge waves as well as strong winds that have been knocking down the trees, and there's plenty of reports of storm surge.
And meteorologist Mike Seidel has been battered by Katrina in Mobile, Alabama. And Mike, the flooding downtown, very much like what happened with George in 1998.
Yeah, even worse than George, and the worst on record, Carl, was Frederick with a 12 to 13-foot storm surge back in 1979, and trees down everywhere because of these winds, which have gusted nearly 90 miles an hour. We still had a gust last hour over hurricane force at the airport. Look at all the debris. Now, again, we're not talking about major structural damage, but we've got branches down off this pine tree, but this is what we've seen a lot of coming off this building next to me. Somebody's going to have to call a roofer because we've got the shingles everywhere. And you can see some of these smaller limbs that come off some of these larger trees. Actually, this limb weighs probably about 40 or 50 pounds. Let me take you downtown because there's a real issue down there. As Carl mentioned, the surge. We're talking about 8 feet of water down on Water Street, of all things, and Royal Street, down around the government complex, and many areas down there. You can't get down there. The parking meters, you can see the water at least 3/4 of the way up the parking meters, even up to the bottom of the interstate signs down there. We tried to get down some of the ramps. We had to back up because everything was underwater. And this could easily, we'll have to wait and see, be the highest storm surge they've seen on record. Worse than Frederick, Camille, and George. Let's talk about how the government, how the local agencies are handling this. There is now curfew for Mobile, the Mobile area. 150,000 Alabama Power customers are without power. 150,000 customers. Most of those here in the Mobile area. More shingles flying through the air here. And as far as the airport is closed, just 7 miles west of here, it is closed today. Tomorrow they're going to try to open it up. They don't know what time they're going to open it up, but they're going to make that attempt. Carl, Jennifer?
All right, Mike, thank you very much.
Numerous tornado warnings continuing across Alabama and into Mississippi. Our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forrest, is up next.